Hi, welcome to my channel, Moving to Madison, Wisconsin. I'm your host, Mindy Kesnick, and today we're going to take a look at one of our largest suburbs, Sun Prairie. Sun Prairie is located northeast of Madison, and it is our largest suburb. And to give you a little bit of reference around that, Sun Prairie has a population of a little over 35,000 people. Our next largest suburb has 29,000. However, Sun Prairie spans just over 8,000 acres, and the next largest, which is Fitchburg, spans over 18,000 acres. Considering the size of the population, it is a fairly dense community. Another thing to know about the size of Sun Prairie is it is by far the largest. So most of our major suburbs around the Madison area are anywhere from 5,000 to like 15,000, somewhere in between that range. And the next one is Middleton at like a little over 21,000. And then we have Fitchburg, which is around 29,000. And then we jump up to Sun Prairie, which is 35,000. What this means is obviously there's a lot more commerce. It's not considered one of our bedroom communities, meaning there's a lot of places to work, tons of employers in Sun Prairie. There's tons of restaurants, coffee shops, places to shop, those kinds of things. If you live in Sun Prairie, you're probably not necessarily anyway leaving Sun Prairie on a regular basis for your needs like groceries or entertainment. Right? It's got its own movie theater, which is one of the major movie theaters in our area. For me, I don't actually leave McFarland to go to Madison to see a movie. I typically head up to Sun Prairie. I also do most of my shopping in Sun Prairie. Sun Prairie's got its own Target, which is unique because there's only one other suburb in the greater Madison area that has its own Target. They've got TJ Maxx, they've got Home Goods, which is one of my favorite stores. It's got a variety of delicious restaurants, bigger restaurants, and also locally owned kind of boutique style shops. It's got a great, vibrant downtown. Sun Prairie is probably one of the more popular suburbs that pulls in a lot of the outside communities as well. Like I said, I don't live in Sun Prairie, but I spend a lot of money and a lot of time in Sun Prairie. I also have to mention that Sun Prairie is the home to only one of two Woodmans in the greater Madison area. And if you don't know about Woodman's grocery store, you gotta check it out when you visit. That sounds silly, but Woodman's is gigantic. And as much as I love Woodman's, I don't love shopping at Woodman's just because it's a whole thing. It's gigantic. You will get absolutely more options at a better price at Woodman's than anywhere else in the entire state. Maybe nation, I don't know. It's amazing, but the shopping experience is, it takes you a long time, and there's a lot of people there because it's super affordable. Anyways, check out Woodman's if you ever come visit, just so that you can just see the sheer size of this grocery store. Another thing to understand about Sun Prairie is most people that move to Sun Prairie end up buying a house. I think the ratio is around 60% of people own versus 40% rent. So there's still a good amount of people that rent in Sun Prairie, and it's probably one of the more affordable places. It's not quite as high as Madison, but as you've probably heard, Madison in the greater area is super high with rents. It's also very high in taxes, and Sun Prairie is not exempt to that. The median home price in Sun Prairie is around $420,000 according to my most recent MLS search. Another thing to keep into consideration is the taxes are fairly high in Sun Prairie. However, that's going to be true of anywhere in the Madison area, and especially in the suburbs. And the reason our taxes are so high, which I'm sure you've heard me talk about in other videos, is because we have amazing public schools and we claim that everyone has free education. Well, we all know that education is not indeed free. We're paying through it in our very costly taxes, which is another reason that rents are so high, because those landlords also have that handoff of the high taxes. Taxes are going to be high in Sun Prairie. However, I have a little hack for you. If you are looking to purchase a home in the Madison area, and especially in the suburbs, if you can find a home that is in one of the smaller towns or villages of any suburb, you will typically save a significant amount of money on your taxes. And a lot of times you'll also end up getting a nice large rural setting, and the lot sizes are bigger too. So there's some other perks to that. The other perk is if you're out in the rural setting of, Sun Prairie, for example, you potentially could be on a well instead of municipal water, and that's going to save you a boatload of money as well. When I say that, what I mean is Sun Prairie is a city. Most of our suburbs are considered towns and villages, but Sun Prairie being a city, there is a township of Sun Prairie that's included in that population, as well as another small town within Sun Prairie named Bristol. So if you can find a property in the town of Sun Prairie or in the town of Bristol, you're going to save on taxes, but you're still going to have the benefit of the Sun Prairie schools, which are some of our higher rated schools as well. Another interesting fact about Sun Prairie is it's our only suburb that has 2 high schools. So that's fairly unique in our area. Most of the suburbs, the towns, the villages, they only have 1 high school. In fact, if you've ever heard me talk about Cottage Grove, and in another video I have about Cottage Grove Revealed, Cottage Grove actually merged with Monona in their Monona Grove School District. It is pretty unique, and to the rest of us living in the other suburbs of Madison, Wisconsin, we're like, holy moly, Sun Prairie is so big that they have 2 high schools. Just another thing to mention. I do think that there's a difference in the rating of those 2 high schools. So again, if it's a place that you're considering looking into moving to, you may want to just check those school ratings and see which school district is right for you, and then making sure that you're choosing an area that has that district attached to the property. Sun Prairie is in a really great location if being near the airports, meaning Milwaukee, Chicago, Dane County is important to you. Also, it's very close to the interstate, so it's super easy to hop on the interstate going north and south or east and west. So it's only about an hour, a little over maybe, to Milwaukee. So that's another perk if that's important to you. Also, we say these suburbs, obviously they're outside of Madison, but, Sun Prairie, for example, it's maybe 10 minutes to get into, the east side of Madison, and probably 15 to 20 minutes to downtown Madison. That's another great thing about the suburbs, whether they're a bedroom community or not. They're all so easy to get to from the Madison area. If you're somebody who's working in Madison and decide to move into some of our suburbs for school districts or just having that smaller hometown feel, whatever that may be, it's a really easy commute. One of the best things about all of Madison and the greater communities is we have tons of parks everywhere. There are parks everywhere, dog parks, trails, whatever you want to do in a park, we've got it. We've got lots of them. And Sun Prairie is not any different than any other community in that way. And so there's plenty of places to spread out, take your kids to the park, take your dogs for walks, whatever that may be. It's also a very strong community feel in Sun Prairie. Sun Prairie is a community that did have something very tragic happen to them a few years ago. There was a gas leak that ended up turning into an explosion. And that community, Sun Prairie strong, they all came together as a community and really, made the best out of a really horrible situation. It's turned over the downtown a little bit, so now there's some newer buildings mixed in with some of the older buildings, but you'll see bumper stickers and window clings and those kinds of things that probably say Sun Prairie strong, and it's because things like that they really do bring these communities together in an even bigger, stronger way. And that's something that happened in Sun Prairie. And I feel that everybody that lives there just knows now, even more than ever before, what a great community that they're a part of, because of the way that everybody responded and just lifted up and supported. 35,000 people is still small enough that, local business owners' names are known within the community. And so it's just, that's one of my favorite things about all of the suburbs of the Madison area is they all have that feel of like pride and just community that really draws families to an area to live in. So one of the events that does bring not only Sun Prairie, but tens of thousands of people from the greater Madison area together is their annual Corn Fest. That's right, people. Would it even be the Midwest if we didn't have a festival called the Corn Fest? I don't think so. Corn Fest happens every August, brings lots of people together over corn. It features 80 tons of locally grown sweet corn. It's served with savory butter, sprinkled with salt to your liking. Do not come after Sunday church in your Sunday best because you will be dripping in butter while eating corn right off the stalk. It's delicious and it's a great time. There's obviously a beer tent because it's Wisconsin. There are live bands. There are lots and lots of other food vendors, tons to do for the kids. There's a carnival, there's helicopter rides. I mean, all the things, you name it, it's there. It's a really great time and just one example of another way that that community just gets together every August to spend time together and eat some good food. The last thing I'll say today about Sun Prairie is if you're interested in moving to the area, there are a lot of new construction neighborhoods popping up in Sun Prairie at any given time. Whether you want to purchase a pre-owned new construction home that's just a couple years old or you're wanting to start fresh, they have a lot of land that's owned by the bigger developers in our area. So new construction is always booming. It's always expanding. Sun Prairie is always adding more and more to its community. It's one of my most frequented suburbs, if not the most frequented suburb for me personally. It has its own Starbucks. It's kind of important. It's got Target. It's got like Menards, which is it's like a Home Depot type store in our area that is very popular. Great for all of your home improvement needs. Sun Prairie is a great community. I highly recommend it to any buyer that's kind of new in the area and looking for a great place to settle down and grow some roots. If you have any questions about Sun Prairie or any of our other suburbs, don't hesitate to reach out. I'd love to hear from you. Have a great day and thanks for watching.